The No Nonsense Roundtable. It's a weekly show broadcast on Rochester, New York's 50,000-watt iHeart radio station, News Radio Wham 1180. The host, Dom Geneva, interviews guests from all walks of life, all with amazing stories to tell. What you are about to hear is a recording of a previous broadcast with limited commercials. Now, here's host Dom Geneva.
Well, welcome everybody to another edition of your No Nonsense Roundtable. I'm Dom Geneva, your host, but then again, you know that by now. And we're here at 10 o'clock each Saturday. And like I like to remind you, all the past shows are on nononsenseroundtable.com. You can get them for nothing. We don't charge you for that. They're there. Go get a show when you need to have a little entertainment or a little education. And we're going to have both today because my guest is a fella that I think everybody in Rochester probably knows, or at least 80% of you, is Gary Craig. Gary, I think this is probably your third time on the show, I think.
At least Dee and I did once with the Prison Guard's Daughter book. I think might have done two others, so I think it may be four.
Yeah. Gary, why don't you introduce? I mean, since you're in the communications business, yes. Why don't you introduce yourself to people that may not know who you are?
Sure. Gary Craig, as Dom said, I was a reporter, and I say was for a reason, at the Gannett papers. I started the Times Union in 1990, and they shut down. When the DNC merged, I moved over to the DNC. Just recently retired as of a month or so ago, as it's in standard with timing in my life. Within a week after my retirement, the company offered a buyout, which I didn't get.
Timing.
Yes, timing is everything, and I'm always on the wrong end of it. Did a lot of criminal justice writing through the years, done a couple of books. I'm in retirement, and the Gannett papers were my really third newspaper. I'd worked in newspaper about 10 years before that. So I really have like 45 years in newspaper, not counting working in college. And so now on the other side of retirement and still doing some writing and other stuff.
Well, let's talk about a little bit about your past, because working for the paper, especially years ago, things have changed a lot since then, obviously. But you're primarily an investigative reporter, right?
Yes, I did some. When I came to Rochester, I started out government covering City Hall. And then probably like after the merger, I still did that for a bit. The merger was in 92 of the DNC, the Times Union, and then moved over to criminal justice and investigative, which is really probably in mid to late 90s. And I'd done that at my previous paper in Northern Virginia also.
Okay, so as an investigative reporter, what kind of talents do you need that like a feature reporter needs to develop?
Well, I mean, there's, I say this all the time. I said it in my farewell column for the DNC. I mean, there's the specifics of it. I just think journalists as a whole need, and I think this is something you clearly possess because you do the show, this curiosity about things. I think that, short of the, sort of the tactics and the way you do things, just wanting to know more about things. And I've always been like that. And then you have to build upon that. It's learning record search, learning freedom of information search, interviewing, as you know, there's sort of an art to that. And you kind of build upon that. It was interesting because I really started out in the business as somebody who liked to write. And I wanted a job, and I knew I wasn't going to write the great American novel. So I came out of college and I wanted to get paid, even if poorly, I wanted to get paid. And I did. I got paid poorly. And so really for a long time.
Yeah. Your craft is not known for his generous salaries. Yeah. No, it's not.
But what happened was through the years, I got to where I actually enjoyed the reporting part, sort of finding the story, the unearthing the story. I love documents. It's weird, I know. And as much as the writing, it is really only in recent years, I think, now that the career's over, it's funny. Well, not over, but at least that part of it. Really the last 10 or 15 years where I think maybe 15, focused more on my writing. Because I enjoyed the reporting so much that the writing would often becomes kind of, I got to write this darn story. But I just enjoyed the part of gathering the information so much.
It's incredible, the concept that you just shared with me, the difference between reporting and investigating and writing. Yeah, I mean, you seem to have like a dichotomy there. There's writing and reporting.
Very, very true. And it's funny with the investigative reporting. I finally got over this. For the longest time, to be honest, I didn't like that term. And though it's a common term, and everybody, and the reason is, and there's somebody once in journalism once said, well, that's redundant. All reporting should be investigative reporting. I mean, you should be, whatever you're writing about, you should be trying to get to the bottom of it. So reporting in and of itself should just be investigative reporting. But the writing part is, that's a whole different art.
No, I'm smart. You're looking at me like I'm crazy, and I am. Okay, but you look at me crazy because what this has touched with me is that there's a TV station.
Yes.
Okay. And everything is investigative. Oh, yes. Everything's investigative. Okay. Yes. And one day, I'm looking at this thing, and this very, very, very qualified reporter, a lot of experience, and some guy's printer doesn't work. It's the same printer like you're looking at here in my office. This printer doesn't work.
It's like a consumer gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh well, the printer doesn't work. I mean, the people. They're okay. You ran out of things to report.
Yeah, we've hit the bottom here.
When you get to the point where your Hewlett Packard, the ink ran out and you can't find the ink for it. Okay, you don't have enough stuff to report. Okay.
Oh, there's definitely some of that where it's like this is
what can I find now?
Investigative,
yes. What can I find now?
Yeah, exactly.
So we have a couple of minutes in this section. So what is the first, quote unquote? I'm doing air quotes here with my fingers. Investigative reporting that you did. The first thing that you can say that was really kind of the first one.
Oh wow, that's a good question. My very first newspaper was in Farmville, Virginia, which has a strange history that I'll just give a nutshell version. In the aftermath of Brown v. Board, the 1954 decision, which a lot of schools did not really integrate immediately. The South particularly fought it. Prince William County had the awful distinction of being the one place in the country, I believe, that stopped funding public schools. From 1959 to 1964, black kids went to school in church basements. People would teach them and all. And there was still some of that legacy when I was there. And to be honest, some of the legacy was the newspaper I worked with, because some of the family had been at the forefront of that pushing for segregation. That it's completely changed now. And some of the first investigative pieces were investigative, maybe stretching, because it really didn't take a lot of, I wouldn't call it investigative now compared to what I did later, but at that point in time, it was sort of looking at some of that very history, and there had been an academy formed. There was an all-white academy, in the aftermath of Brown v. Board, and sort of whether or not that at this time was breaking civil rights laws, what they were doing to really try to keep it all white many years later. And I have somebody told me, like, right before I went to that newspaper. There's going to be an article. There's going to be an article you'll write that won't see the light of day. It's like, oh, come on, was this that could never happen. Well, it happened. But,
really, that never made it.
And and the reason the publisher was way up in years, and he was one of the people who was really behind the segregation movement.
Okay.
And his sons weren't so much, but his sons were like, and he had lost some of his mental faculties, to be honest, but he still had his job and he come into work. His sons basically said, if we publish this, he's going to think it's 1950s all over again and start writing editorials as if it is.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So all that work you did just got buried.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do, I know we'll talk about Substack. I think I'm going to dig it out and do a Substack column on it.
God bless you.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we're ready to go into a short break, and I have a humorous first story that was told to me by Don Eilhart, of all things.
Don.
Okay, we'll see you in a little bit. This is Dom Geneva for my friend Jack Greco at Jack Greco Furniture. I keep saying to you that he has unique and wonderful stuff. He can build whatever you want if you want something really unique, and he has outdoor furniture. There is no reason that you should not at least go over to Jack Greco's Furniture and see what he has, because it's not like the stuff in the big box store, and you will be treated right. Go to see Jack Greco like I do. This is Don for my friends at the Avon Rotary Club. Today is Corn Festival Day. It's always a lot of fun. Vendors, food, entertainment at night. And this year, we have a new booth, and it is me. I have my book that I'm selling. It is called Don't Be Taken for a Ride, Know What Your Dealer Knows, and Drive Home Happy. I will be selling books and signing books, and 100% of the purchase price of the book is going to go to the Avon Rotary Club. Come down, see me, buy a book, learn something. You'll have fun. Well, welcome back. We are talking with, I hate saying two. We're talking two. We're talking with. We're having a nice conversation. Yes. Gary Craig, a former reporter for multiple newspapers and an author himself. We're going to talk about the one book that I'm very, very fond of. I'm fond of everything that you do, but 7 Million. We'll talk a little bit about that and the investigation with that. And I asked him a question a while back before the break about his first investigative story. And Don Eilhart was on my show at one time, and I mean, obviously, you know, the dean of the dean of TV news here in the Guinness Book of Records as having the longest local career and I asked him, I said, what was the first investigative story you did? And I think if I remember correctly, he said in our house when I was a boy. We had a mock radio station, and with a reel-to-reel, and I would go interview. And I think he said it was when Fluffy the cat disappeared without any trace, and they had to do an investigative report about the cat or something like that. I don't know exactly what it was, but that's what it was. That was his first story. And
that's beautiful. I love that.
Well, you know, we were talking before about actually before the show we were talking about personnel reviews. You when you go and you have a job at a big company like I did at Chrysler, and they do your personnel review. A lot of it has to do with whether the guy interviewing you or is your boss likes you or not, because he could just tamp down anything he wants because he's writing your personnel review. And you know, it's sort of analogous to what you were saying about the story that you did, and they buried the story on you. And then Gary in the break said something that was very true. He's now has something online. It's called a Substack, and you can do anything you want. You know, which is really great. Which is the same thing with the No Nonsense Roundtable. I can probably I can't do anything I want. But I can do a lot of stuff, but you can do anything you want. But let's talk about that.
Sure. Substack has really been booming. It's basically an online platform. It's so darn user friendly too, which is what I love about it. And it's taken off the last, I don't know when it started, but I started getting invitations from different people who are doing it. And I really wanted to keep writing and reporting, especially, and this gave me a way to do it. So you basically you go if you plug in Substack in my name, it's going to come up, and you subscribe. Not most of them, I don't know what percentage, but a lot of them are free. I admit mine is going to be paid. It's going to be. I've done 7 or 8 already free, and it's been nice. It's been getting subscribers, and some who've already pledged to subscribe. And this week, I'm going to go to a $6 a month subscription thing. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be interesting because I think I was talking to somebody else that does it. I've got to figure out a way to sort of like still put free ones out there so people who aren't buying.
You get free samples.
Exactly, that sort of thing. Yeah, and it's all right. I mean, I'm already, and the crazy thing is like, I mean, I've only been doing this a week and a half now, and already I'm getting like news tips on stuff. And which isn't bad because a lot of people already knew, but they're sending me stuff that, a month ago they would have sent me, or 2 months ago at the DNC, and they're still sending me stuff.
Well, this is sort of like if I'm understanding what this is, because I'm not really unfamiliar with it. Maybe it's something I should do.
A lot of people are unfamiliar with it.
Well, the thing is, when you do a podcast or you do a radio show, somebody has to actively go to the podcast to get the podcast.
Yep.
Okay, unless they email it to you or whatever. So this Substack is sort of proactive. I mean, you get subscribers and you send them something weekly, is it?
I've been doing it a week and a half, and I have 8 postings already.
Really?
But that's going to change. My goal is to 2 to 3 a week, and some of them are going to be crazy stories about stories I've covered, which the backstory, which which I have a story about Long Island Lolita, Amy Fisher, whom I interviewed years ago, and Oprah claimed she had the exclusive. I actually interviewed her hours before Oprah did, and Oprah claimed the exclusive. So I've got all these crazy stories, and the good thing is I can write those in advance for when I'm sort of taking some time to report something. I can roll those out.
Yeah.
And I've already got several weeks of those already for when I want to roll them out. And it pops into your inbox. You subscribe, and it's in your inbox in the morning. And it's. I knew people read early, but I've been surprised. Like the one that came out this morning, which was really a welcome one, sort of describing what I want to do with it. I had it programmed at like 5 a.m. By like 7 a.m. it already had like a 50% open rate, meaning by 2 hours.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so
sure.
People definitely read early. I don't know if they read them. Hopefully they do. They open it. I'm hoping they read it. But yes.
Well, that sounds like something I should be. Well, but believe it or not, I have like 20,000 people on my email list.
That's great.
But the problem is getting them to getting them to click or open and stuff like that. But if they're subscribing, you already know that they're interested, especially if they're paying you.
Well,
if they're paying you, yes, they're probably a little more engaged.
It'll be interesting when this. Yeah. I mean, I've already gotten. I'm happy with the pledges already. It'll be interesting when Friday, the pay, which will be I think the day before you air, but when Friday the pay model kicks in to see how many people do it. I don't expect everybody to do it immediately. Hopefully they'll do it quickly. I'm hoping.
Well, I can give you a couple of plugs on future shows too. That'll help. That'll help a little bit. So what was the first? What was the first one? The welcome thing is welcome.
Well,
I'm doing this, but I mean, you don't.
One was actually Chuck Mangione's death.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't about. It's funny. There's a couple of things that I've written about that I actually knew. If I was at the DNC, I knew. I had heard about the death several days before it became public.
Okay.
And then. It was like maybe a Tuesday and it was Friday, and I asked the person that told me, and he said, "Yeah." He says, "I'm very sure it's true." And then I reached out to the family, and I've known his niece, artist, for years and years. She's married to Judge Steve Lindley, who's on the appellate division here. And an artist, basically, confirmed. But what had happened, what they told me was they wanted to reach his past band members who were all over the world. So that's why it wasn't announced immediately.
Okay.
And so I didn't do, this is what the beauty of it is, I didn't do a standard obituary. I just did a column, so to speak, on something artists and somebody else had told me, which is about when a performance he did in Warsaw, Poland, which was fascinating. And I just did that. And I said, here, there are obituaries elsewhere. Here's links to some. So I didn't feel obliged to write a full obituary. I just used this fascinating story.
It sounds like you and Scott Petoniak have a lot in common when it comes to that. Scott is he writes about sports in a humanistic way. It's not what you did this, you got that. He'll go to a backstory. And the other fellow who's like that is Bruce Pilato. Oh. Bruce Pilato, and anybody doesn't know Bruce Pilato, but he was. He's done so much stuff here in Rochester, and he's a producer, and he interviewed 3 out of the 4 Beatles, and he goes to Paul McCartney, and he asks him about, well, your son's like model planes, right? Now you have a story that no other fella asked, right? And it's a human interest story.
Yeah, because it's if I were at the DNC, Marcia Greenwood, the great DNC reporter, did a wonderful obituary. And I may have been the one doing it at the DNC, but now I'm kind of free to do sort of other stuff. It's, and I'm enjoying it immensely.
Yeah, and there's freedom. Yeah, you have the freedom that nobody's looking over your shoulder. You can do whatever, and you live and die by that. So
yeah, and for better or for worse, I don't have editors.
Well, yeah, not having a boss. What do they say? If you're not the lead dog, the scenery never changes.
Very true.
And with that, we're heading into our news break, and we will see you. Well, you'll hear us after the news break. This is Don for my friend Todd, who owns Martinizing Dry Cleaning in Fairport. Like I like to say to you, he picks your clothes up and he drops your clothes off. Why schlep them yourself? I love the word schlep. You can save your time and your effort and your gas and do other things rather than take your clothes back and forth. They do a great job. Their number is 425-4242, 425-4242. Use them. I do all the time. Well, we're back, and we are talking with Mr. Gary Craig, a former reporter for a number of different newspapers, the DNC being the last one, and recently retired. You look great. You decided to keep your hair, which makes you look very young. And we were talking about the Substack thing, which is one of the new ways of communicating information, entertainment, and whatever. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But I also want to talk a little bit about the change in the business since you started.
Yes.
Because things have really gotten kind of crazy. So, but let's talk about the Substack one more thing. So, if people want to, we'll do a little retail here. If people want to subscribe to your Substack, I mean, you just type in Substack in your name.
Yeah, you just put it in Google, and all the free ones, the 7 or 8 that I've done, I'm sure will come up, and as well probably in the future the pay ones, which I assume you have to pay to open up to start subscribing. But yeah, that's really all it takes. And there's a home page. It's basically a landing page where they're all there to find. I'm pretty sure I will still do free ones occasionally, just to if people can find it and read it without. And yeah, so it's really, and it's so easy to publish on. It's so easy to write on. It's just I've really enjoyed it.
Have you written yet a story about former car dealer who wrote a book about how not to get screwed? I mean, have you?
Actually, I'm thinking about.
You're thinking about that.
There's it's funny you say that, because even before this, and before you asked, I was thinking about that, and another friend I used to work with, Scott McIntosh, has a book out. It's a reporter-based mystery with the reporter ended up in a murder mystery that just came out as well. So.
Well, I'll subscribe to your. No, so we
actually, on that point, I do have. These are things like somebody emailed me today about a former local athlete who's burning it up in the pros in baseball, and we just don't have the the
bandwidth.
The DNC, but I'm like, well, shoot, at some point in the future, if I'm like, why not write about it? I mean, why not?
Sure. The thing is, I see that with what I do online with the with my videos with the YouTube, because we make YouTubes out of all these shows, and some of them are more popular than others. But it's like the one with Don Alhart's got like 90,000 views.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but that's like a 3-minute thing, and then you have other ones that are maybe the content didn't make it to the show because the show's only an hour or 36 minutes, whatever they give me, but it's an hour and a half. I interviewed the former, the first Mrs. Muhammad Ali. Oh, and wow. Now, I mean, the interview was just amazing. It was just, and Garrison Keillor. I mean, this is more than an hour. This is more than just, this is more than, I talked to him about my fictional town. Actually, I gave him some sweatshirts for the Middle Finger Lake.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, Middle Finger Lake, where life is perfect but could always be better.
That's very Garrison Keillor.
Yeah, very Garrison Keillor. I gave him some T-shirts and whatever. I don't know if he liked it or not, but whatever. I gave him some T-shirts and he signed his book for me, which I had to buy most naturally. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to have that flexibility, because when you're doing the Substack, you could make it any length you want, right? I mean, obviously, So that's good.
Exactly. It's interesting about the interest, because I just did one about the latest Oak Hill, sort of the lawsuit. It's just crazy. I could not go a day when I was at the DNC without people asking me about the Oak Hill lawsuit. the readership, whenever I wrote about the Oak Hill lawsuit, was just over the top crazy.
Well, explain to people who may not know what the Oak Hill lawsuit is.
So a fellow who was on the board at Oak Hill got booted off. He alleged in a lawsuit that they had improperly and illegally kicked him off because he was asking for more transparency with the club finances. They said they kicked him off because he had harassed an employee in a really ugly and coarse way, and claimed that was the second such incident. Then later, the woman who was allegedly harassed sued the club and said, while he had been angry with her, he had not done anything to the extent that they claimed, or they were really trying to find a way to get
so
rid of him.
they dragged her in, and she really didn't want to be dragged in. Is that what you're saying?
For her. And so the whole thing is, it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of legal fees now, which the Oak Hill insurer isn't covering because they're suing each other. And so they're having to talk about special assessments to club members to pay for this. And it's still, and we're on the eve of trial. Now there's a move to postpone the date of the trial. But what was interesting was, so everybody, when I started a Substack, was like, well, not everybody, a lot of people, you're going to write about Oak Hill, right? You're going to write about Oak Hill. So I felt an obligation to write about Oak Hill. But it was interesting. You can see an open rate, sort of the open rate of your emails.
Yeah.
And it was still very, very good. It was above what they consider excellent. But the Oak Hill open rate of my 8 I've written was the lowest so far.
Really?
So it's funny that I've got, I think, a different audience now that I have to keep in mind. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's partly, too, because I have people who are subscribing who aren't from here, family,
okay.
friends,
Yeah.
et cetera. And I got to I was talking with one of my friends from college yesterday about trying to make sure that I can keep it in a way that, that you don't have to live in Rochester to have an interest in it. So that's going to be a test, too.
Yeah. And how many books have you written?
Just the 2. I mean, I co-wrote the book with Dee about the prison guard's daughter.
Oh, that's a great book, too.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, my God.
7 Million, which, it came out in 2017, and I'm still doing talks on it. I did a talk a couple of weeks ago about it. So,
well, let's explain to some people that don't know about the 7 million. I mean, there's people from out of town have actually come to live here since then. So,
yes.
That's like me, 1994. People ask me, well, blah 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 with the mob. I got here in '94. I don't know. I don't know all this stuff.
Well,
the mob stuff.
Yeah,
I have no idea about the mob stuff.
Mob stuff too.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't here, I sort of became the mob, oddly historian through some other stories. I'm writing mob stuff. I did all the mob obituaries the last 20 years.
Were you ever nervous about that, writing these stories about?
I actually, most of the mobsters I know, they're up in years, and maybe that's why I have a good relationship with. I mean, the ones that are alive, and I had some. Yeah, one came out of prison after doing 25 to life and spoke at my RIT class for me. So no, I haven't. Yeah. But 7 million. 1993, a Brinks Depot was here, robbed of $7.4 million. It earned. It was not Ocean's 11. It was not a very sophisticated heist. But the characters were great. There was a guy who'd been in prison with the Irish Republican Army who headed it. There was suspicions of a retired cop, and there was a priest in New York City who was convicted of help hide the money. And so that's what made it. The characters were amazing. And I did a story. There were suspicions of IRA connections with the money because only $2 million was ever recovered. Did the money get to the IRA in Northern Ireland? And it's actually, there's been a documentary done on it since. Really. Sebastian, the New York City filmmaker, did a marvelous job. And somebody has bought the option to rights to try to do a dramatized film. That just happened in the last few months. Whether it will happen, I don't know. I would love for it to happen, of course, but
I'd love to see if you can find that documentary again. I mean,
I can. It's funny. It's disappeared off Discovery Plus, but I have a link to it if anybody wants it. I'll send it to you.
Send it to me. I'll put it on my website because that's a great. That is the way they did it was great, and the shadows and the camera angles and the accents and everything. It was really a lot of fun. It was really a lot of fun to watch that documentary.
Sebastian Malinowski, young filmmaker. He's become a friend and just incredibly talented young man. So good.
Yeah. I wish I could get more into your head for the stuff that you've gone through over your life because you've seen so much stuff. I've had a boring life compared to you. I mean, really. I mean,
I did it. The Jazz Festival was kind enough in collaboration with the DNC and I mentioned editors earlier. I really have good relations with my editors, so it was nice. They gave me this sort of send off before the opening night, and I had to do like a 4-minute talk. And I was like, what have I? And I came across a story like 3 days before that I didn't even remember. And I ended up being the foundation of my talk. I didn't even remember this happening. And that's the thing. like I interviewed years and years ago the great, now late African-American comic Dick Gregory by phone for years come town. I completely forgot that until I stumbled on it looking for another newspaper article. I'd forgotten about it.
Yeah. Well, we are heading into our last break, and I have a question to you about, let's talk about personalities when we return.
Sure.
Okay. This is Dom from my friends at the Avon Rotary Club. Today is Corn Festival Day. It's always a lot of fun. Vendors, food, entertainment at night. And this year, we have a new booth, and it is me. I have my book that I'm selling. It is called Don't Be Taken for a Ride, Know What Your Dealer Knows, and Drive Home Happy. I will be selling books and signing books, and 100% of the purchase price of the book is going to go to the Avon Rotary Club. Come down, see me, buy a book, learn something. You'll have fun. Well, we were having a wonderful conversation, even between the break here, with Mr. Gary Craig, former reporter, author, and philosopher, I would say.
Don't follow any of my philosophy.
No, I was just recounting to him a story he told me years ago. And, you take these little nuggets from people every once in a while. And you put them in the back of your head. And, that's when this guy said this to me. So I'm talking about little nuggets that I learned from some of the people that are on the show. And he said something once that was very similar to something my mother said. And my mother said to me once, she goes, God, remember, Dom, everybody's children are the best looking children to their parents.
Yes, so, they all look like
yes, there's no such thing as an ugly baby, Dom. They're all beautiful. That's exactly right. And Gary said to me years ago, you want to say it, you want me to say it?
I could say it.
You say it. Because I love this because it's actually true.
I actually did tell somebody this over the phone one time. I felt sort of bad afterwards, but not terribly bad. It was somebody that called with a story that, for his dinner table and his family and all, it was a good story. Beyond that, it wasn't much reach. And I finally had to say something like, really, most people's stories aren't that interesting. They're interesting to you, but they're not interesting to the tens of thousands of people out there. And I felt kind of bad, and I don't think he was happy hearing that.
No, but it's right. Okay, I'm going to take that. I'm going to make the next step with that. And you say, most people's stories are not all that interesting. Yeah. I got that. Okay. Most people's opinions are not that important.
Oh, very true. No,
yes. I mean, and you're seeing that online these days, which really drives me crazy. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. But when somebody's you're boring me.
Yeah, and it's the idea. The idea that if I go on and blast my opinion on social media, everybody that disagrees with me is suddenly going to have an epiphany and say, you're right about that.
Well, I think it was Nixon with the kitchen debate, and he goes to Khrushchev. He says, you're not going to make me a communist, and I'm not going to make you a capitalist.
Yes.
Okay? That's pretty much it. And the thing, I've gotten into this discussion lately because I just for the human nature part of it is that you find people that are maybe in the entertainment business, and the thing, I consider myself a little bit of a marketing guy, right? There's no upside in ticking off half the people. It's half to the left or half to the right. I mean, when I have my car dealership, I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I would sell, even if I hated you, I would still sell you a car.
That was Michael Jordan said he didn't do political commercials because everybody bought tennis shoes.
Yeah, and that's what Johnny Carson has there's an interview with Mike Wallace. And Johnny Carson and Mike Wallace says, well, why don't you take up socialism? And the look on Johnny's face is like, why would I do that?
Yeah. I guess I would distinguish.
Why would I do that? So if you here's the thing, I'll make I'll hammer down my one point with this. If there is a risk in doing that, if you can survive on that audience, okay, like not everybody can buy a BMW. Okay, yeah. I mean they don't sell that many cars, but they deal with a certain number of people that can and whatever. You can survive on that. That's fine. But if you need to sell 250,000 of something, to make money. Well, that's a different story. So that's the thing I get into with these things. I mean, okay, that you can take that stand like that. People can know you take that stand, but can you afford offending people that won't buy your product or come to your presentation? So
it's obviously different because I'm not really selling it, but I would draw a distinction, I guess, with some issues. If somebody decides that my civil rights stands or my social justice stands, which has become sort of pejorative, oddly, turn them off because they're a racist. I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
They can walk away.
Yeah.
If they think that, if they think that I believe in gay marriage, if they think that there's something wrong with that, I don't give a damn.
Right.
They can walk away.
I got that.
And, and there's so many others like that. But so much now is just said for just as you said, it's like everybody has to have an opinion. Everybody has to put their opinion out there. You really don't have to. I mean,
that's exactly right.
There are people that,
exactly
and
right.
some of these the people that feel, and it's social media. There's so much good that is done, but there's so much bad. And there's so many people I know that feel that if it's almost like they just want to inflame or to get the
it's the clicks. You get get an endorphin hit from the clicks. And the thing is that it depends if you, like I said, I look at it this way. It depends if you're trying to sell something. If you're trying to sell something and you're depending on people liking you and coming into your business and whatever. I mean, there's a certain amount of people that don't like Chick-fil-A because they're closed on Sunday. Yeah. The interesting thing was there was a petition at the school that my daughter worked in, Notre Dame University. And there was a petition saying that being closed on Sunday is not good for the campus and people need to eat on Sunday too. It's Notre Dame.
Yes.
It's Notre Dame. It's like, okay. The problem with it is it gives voice to people that never had a voice before. Okay. So if you go online, there are people that are flat earthers.
Oh, God, yes.
Okay. They think the world is flat.Ey're going to try to convince you that the world is flat. So, I mean, that's the thing. But this is what...
somehow contrails are back as a thing.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, somehow the Texas floods were the blame of contrails. It's like, what? How did we get to this point?
Oh, my God. So we have about 4 minutes left here. But, the journalistic standards, when you had journalists that were, the New York Times was all the news is fit to print. It was, it was in the masthead. I don't know if it's the same way anymore, but you had standards back then. Now anybody with a computer becomes a journalist.
Yes. I mean, the truly, I mean, there are some issues with the mainstream media, and it's definitely some political leanings, one way or the other. But a lot of them still do have that sort of editing kind of safeguards.
Well, yeah.
But a lot. I mean, my welcome Substack today, I wrote about where the money's going to largely go. That my subscriptions, hopefully I'll have a little at the end of it, but the day may come, and I note in here that I may need to hire a lawyer. I had one with the newspaper. I used them a lot at the newspaper to review my stuff and to file information fights for me. The day may come where I know a lot of lawyers, maybe one of them, hey, if you're listening, where I need to pay for a lawyer for this very sort of stuff that the newspaper used to cover for me, just to make sure that everything is that. Not necessarily that you won't get sued, but if you get sued, you win. Yeah. You might get sued. I was sued in federal court one time for basically claiming a drug dealer was a dummy because he did something stupid. Judge threw it out pretty quickly.
Well, I mean, that's the danger these days because anybody with a computer can become an expert and you can say anything. But, on the other hand, there's some stuff that doesn't pass the smell test. It's like this Hunter Biden laptop. Oh, it doesn't exist. It was blah, blah, blah. How could somebody be that stupid? He was that stupid.
Well, we said beforehand.
They had what? They had all these people. They're saying, investigative reporting. This is just a bunch of and it wasn't.
I've always maintained, neither Hunter, and this is going to, I don't guess, is condemnation of both parties in some ways. Don Jr. or Hunter Biden would be people that would be completely unknown were it not for their fathers.
Yeah.
Maybe they wouldn't be.
And the thing is this, and we only have about a minute left here. The thing is that people take this indignation with left or right, equally stupid contentions, and it's just as bad. It's just it's so silly. But
there are more flat earthers out there than I realized. Yeah. Now I know because of social media.
Or the people that say they're not citizens. What is that? Oh gosh. Yeah, I forget what the name for that is. But anyway,
I forgot. Yeah.
So
they don't have to pay taxes.
So we're heading to the end of the show. So let's do this retail email thing again for your Substack.
Sure.
And how many posts do you have out there right now?
I've got 8 right now.
Okay,
all
now
free right now.
Can you go back and get like old ones?
Oh, yeah.
So if you subscribe, you can get.
I'll have a newsy one tomorrow, which will be online when this airs. A newsy one tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all there. And just again, Google Substack and Gary Craig, and you'll find it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming in. Sometime mention my book. Don't be taken.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Hey,
Don't be taken for a ride.
You've given me good advice already today about cars when we were talking.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. A way of you said you had a good relationship with these mob guys, and you got So I'm probably going to have the same type of relationship with car dealers. So
there you go. Not that there's a similarity.
Not that I would mention. So everybody, 10 o'clock next Saturday, it's the No Nonsense Roundtable.
Thanks for listening. Tune in every Saturday from 10 to 11 on News Radio Wham 1180. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll make more.